Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to the Easy Come, Easy Go podcast. This is Wayne Bennett. I'm your host, and today I want to talk about, you can consider this a public service announcement if you want to, but 22 years ago, almost to the day, I'd gone into my doctor, Gary Poling, and for a semi-annual physical, and blood work turned out great. If you knew Gary Poling, he gave you a very thorough physical, and it seemed like I passed all the tests. And right at the end of the physical examination, Gary said, "Well, you're 49 years old and getting ready to turn 50, and you've never had a colonoscopy." And he said, "I think you ought to get one." Well, of course, I was totally against it. I said, "Gary, man, I exercise every day. I'm in good health. All the tests came out all right." And I said, I really don't want to do that." And he said, "Well, I'm going to insist because, I'm the one that takes care of your health." And he said, "I'm just going to, before I give you a clean bill of health, I think you have to do it." Well, I still hem-hauled around there, and he set me up an appointment with Dr. Michael Hall. And I still wasn't too convinced that I was going to have it done, but I did go to the consultation with Dr. Hall. And when I talked to him, he was a great guy. I talked about sports, talked a little bit about this and that, kind of explained the procedure some. And even though I thought it was still invasive, someone going up through your behind and checking your innards out, didn't seem too appealing. I'm sure it wouldn't to anybody. But because I liked the guy, I decided I would go ahead and have this done. And so it gave me the instructions, the things I needed to do beforehand, and it wasn't that big a deal at the time. But then came down the day before I had the colonoscopy. You had to basically eat clear foods and those kind of things, and start taking your medicine about 2 or 3 o'clock, and that's what was supposed to clean you out. Now, you weren't supposed to eat any kind of red foods or juices or anything a few days before. You're supposed to cut out your any blood thinners like aspirin, and so I followed the rules pretty good. But and it was I'll admit it was a little uncomfortable when I had it done, but we made it through the evening, and the solution that we drank, it did clean you out pretty well. So we went into the hospital. Now, I'd never been in a hospital for any kind of sickness or anything like that, and hospitals kind of gave me the jeebers. But so I was a little afraid, and went through the procedure. Well, during the procedure, I felt uncomfortable. They had put me out, but I kind of semi-regained consciousness. And when it was over, Dr. Hawk came to my wife and I and said that they had discovered two growths about the size of golf balls inside my large intestine. And he was pretty sure they would be cancerous, but they were still waiting on the lab report. And you're talking about a shocker. Here I was, 49 years old, and I'd ran and walked and biked and swam and did a lot of things during my lifetime, and it was just hard to imagine that I thought I'd done something wrong. So he referred me to a surgeon. still in my mind, it hadn't sunk in the seriousness of this particular situation. So he hooked me up with a Dr. Brian Richmond. And at that time, Brian was a young surgeon at the Raleigh General Hospital in Beckley, West Virginia. And from everything that I could gather, he was kind of the guy that you wanted to go to. So we went to Dr. Richmond's office for the consultation. And again, in my mind, not having been around the medical people too much, I thought, well, they'll make a little incision and they'll go in and they'll laser this thing out, and I'll be out later that day, and it's not a big deal. But when we go in, talk to Dr. Richmond, it was a little more than that, and he showed me where they were going to cut on me, and it was going to open up right down the middle of my belly, and they were going to have to take out about 12 inches of my colon, and then at that time, it did strike me, maybe this is a little more serious than I thought. And so after he explained the operation, even though in his comforting voice, I asked him, I said, well, here it is. This is the end of April, and can we just wait till school's out? I don't really want to miss school. And he kind of informed me that I may not be around at the end of school if I didn't have this operation immediately. And that's about the time the seriousness really hit. And so I cried about it, prayed about it. I was scared, but I knew it was going to happen. So we had the operation on the 1st of May. And Dr. Richmond and Dr. Scott Kilmer were the surgeons. And after the surgery, they came in with Dr. Poling and explained to me a little bit about pain management and those kind of things. But they said that they took out the 12-inch section, and they felt like the operation went well. And lucky for me, I didn't have to. They got all the cancer, and they couldn't believe that I hadn't had some discomfort or pain or anything like that. But I did, and I didn't feel anything beforehand. But they said, my large intestine was about ready to shut down. But the operation went well. They got all the cancer. I was in hospital about a week. Then when I got out, I had to go lay around for a while, and I was out of school for about a month, and I got back about a week before school ended, so I could kind of wrap things up. But one of the things it did do, and I felt blessed that they had caught mine in time, because since then I've had a couple close friends that have passed away with colon cancer. And the one thing about colon cancer is they call it the silent killer, because sometimes it will sneak up on you, and by the time you find out you might have a problem, it's already into the stage 4 process. Now, many people, anybody that is getting close to the age of 50, I think if you haven't had a colonoscopy, I think you ought to have one. If you've had a history of colon cancer in your family, you definitely ought to do that, and even maybe younger. And I didn't really realize till later that my father had had a colon cancer surgery, and it was almost the same type of surgery that I had. So it was part of my DNA. So when we insisted my older son, he get a colonoscopy, he had one before he was 50, and of course they discovered a couple of polyps in his colon, and so he's part of the genes, and it's since then. This was in 1999. I've had yesterday I had my 10th colonoscopy. And after my surgery, I had one every year for about 5 years, and then now I'm every 3 years. But each time that they have given me the colonoscopy, they have found polyps, and those are precancerous. And if you let them go, they can get extremely serious. And so that's why I'm recommending this, male or female, black, white, whatever. You need to go get a colonoscopy. And if you really want to know a little bit more about the process, I'm going to let my buddy Carl, he's going to explain it to you, his situation.
I guess I ain't no spring chicken no more. I'm pretty old and give out. Ain't got no gas. I reckon as you get on in years there, it's a good idea to take care of yourself. I went to the doctor last week. Had me one of them deals where they check out your hind end. They call it something like a colonoscopy. I can tell you about it if you want me to. Because if you don't, I ain't got nothing.
Love to hear about that.
You'll like it. It's based on all my experiences. First off, you got to go in there and meet the doctor. Some folks call him a physician. I called him a doctor. I reckon they want to meet you on account it's a good idea to shake hands with him before he gets started. Because you probably ain't going to want to afterwards. I go to that young feller, Doc Stevenson, over there to the hospital. He's a very handsome man. Smiles a lot. I can't figure out what makes a feller decide he's going to make a living looking up folks' backsides. Seems kindly funny to me. Not funny, ha-ha. Funny queer. That must be a pretty good wage in it. Or maybe he just weren't smart enough to be a dentist. I hear tell he's pretty good at his job. I know a feller named Royce from up there to the nervous hospital. He went to him. Not for a colonoscopy. He swallowed some car keys, a couple of writing pens, and a tennis ball. On account of he's crazy. Doc Stevenson, he got them out quick as a wink. Royce said he never felt a thing. I can't rightly figure out how he did that. You ever see a tennis ball? Maybe it is magic like them fancy boys in Las Vegas do. Well, sir, I reckon I didn't care none for the part where you got to get ready for the colonoscopy. They give you this potion to drink there. He said it was something called a laxative. He said I ought to be sure to be close by the toilet when I take it. Well, that ain't exactly right. You can't be close by. You got to be right there on it. It took me a second or two to figure that one out. That there laxative plumb whooped the tar out of me. And everything else. I tell you, I don't know where it all came from. I was up all night flushing in shifts. The next morning, you go in there to the hospital, have that whole shebang done. You wander in this little room there. They got a 50-foot coil of hose pipe hanging on a wall and a big old air compressor. I asked Doc Stevenson what all that was for. Well, sir, he said they gonna put a camera on the end of that hose pipe, blow some air up into my innards, then take pictures of the inside of my hind end. I told him I didn't need no pictures of that. I didn't rightly care what it looked like anyhow. He said they had to look for all kinds of warts and goblins and all sorts of stuff that might be off kilter somewhere or another. They have you stripped down bare naked. They give you this shirt with no back on it, so your bottom sticks out. They lay you down on your side on this table there and tell you to sniff out of this cup. Well, I started to sniff. And just as I was going to tell him he didn't have to use all 50 feet of that hose pipe, I sort of faded out. While I was out, I had me a nightmare where I was a glove and this big old hand was chasing me. I didn't understand that part of it. I woke up all of a sudden. I couldn't feel my backside. I said, "What'd you kill a feeling in my butt for? What'd you kill a feeling in my butt for?" I don't know what happened, but when I woke up, there's a tennis ball sitting there. I reckon he didn't find nothing bad anyhow. I hope I ain't got to do that again. Moral of the story, if a feller's gonna put a hose pipe in your backside, make sure he been to school for it. And if you do a good job, they might give you a tennis ball. The end.
Now, my experience wasn't quite like Carl's, but I've had colonoscopies from two different doctors, and every time I've had one, like I said, this is the 10th one. And by the way, I had 2 polyps yesterday. Went to the Oak Hill Plateau Medical Center. That's the first time I ever had a colonoscopy there, and the people were very professional. Great job. They had to take some precautions because of COVID-19, but it was I was really impressed with the help and with the hospital itself. But the prep has been a little bit different as we have progressed along. I think it's gotten a little bit better. But at the beginning of the week on Monday, I had been drinking Metamucil and kind of help with the laxative part. Then a couple of days before, I took a laxative called Delcalox tablets, and then on the day before I had the colonoscopy, I had to drink this solution made of Miralax powder, and it had 8.3 ounces of it, and you mixed it with a clear drink and 32 ounces of it, and over a 3-hour period, you drink it. And somewhere along the line, you start having some bowel movements, and it can last up to 4 or 5 hours. After I drank the Miralax, I did take a couple more laxative pills, and it wasn't really that unpleasant. You can't plan going out anywhere. Like Carl said, you kind of got to stay close to the toilet, but it wasn't bad at all. So if that's the one thing you're dreading the most, it's no big deal. And don't let it hold you back from having a colonoscopy. Colon cancer is much worse. But we've got Peter Yarrow wrote a little song about colonoscopy, and it's kind of used as a public service announcement. So let's listen to Peter.
I had a question on my mind. Do we all look the same when the doctor sees us from behind? Then I had the answer. I felt like such a fool, 'cause the doctor smiled and said to me, "Your colon's really cool. My colon's really cool." What a nice surprise. He sees a lot of colons, but my colon took the prize. Then he added something that was even more divine. We found a polyp hiding Peter, but we caught it just in time. He found a polyp hiding. Don't mean to sound so crass, but the polyp was discovered by a camera up. My mother and my father spoke to me that very day. They said, "My son, it seems you've won the polyp prize. Hooray, hooray, hooray." Now the camera that they used is not like the ones on movie lots. It's a camera that is tiny, and it takes interior shots. It's a camera that is groovy. It can twist and turn and bend to film your colon story and ensure a happy end. So, listen to me closely, for this is not a lie. Colon cancer can be beaten if you are not camera shy. Call your doctor swiftly, no ifs or ands or buts. Schedule your colonoscopy, I know you've got the guts. My colon's really cool, and what a nice surprise. My doctor sees a lot of colons, but mine took the prize. Mine took the prize, my friends, mine took the prize. My colon's really groovy, so my colon took first prize.
So if you want to find out if your colon is really cool, go get a colonoscopy, get it checked out. And this is the day after I've had my 10th one, and I feel fine. Everything's pretty much back to normal. That's our public service announcement, and that's my story, and I'm sticking it to it. And remember, if you ain't dead yet, you ain't done yet.